King.
Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello again out there in Blog Talk Radio land. I'm Ernie Jacob in the Comox Valley, and Michael Linton is here too. Morning, Michael.
Morning, Ernie. Morning, world.
So we're talking about autopoiesis. I had to work on that word to get it right, and I think I've got it right now. And from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, autopoiesis, I didn't get it right, autopoiesis, literally means auto, self-creation, from the Greek auto, for self, and poiesis, for creation or production, and expresses a fundamental dialect between structure and function. I think that's a good one there. Expresses a fundamental dialect between structure and function.
I like that.
Yeah.
Between what it is and what it does. I like that.
Yes. And it also, the term was originally conceived as an attempt to characterize the nature of living systems. A canonical example of an autopoietic system is the biological cell. So that's from Wikipedia, autopoiesis. And it's spelled P-O-I-E-S-I-S. And
so
this is Open Money on Blog Talk Radio, and that's what we're going to talk about is autopoiesis and open money and what it all means and how it works together and meshes, etc.
You say auto, I say auto. Poiesis. Autopoiesis. Let's auto-P, something like that.
Yeah,
probably we'll get used to that one.
Auto-P is, yes, okay. But anyway, structure and function, which in our terms has been form and function in terms of money.
Structure is what it is, how it is manifest in a sense. It's the material or the pieces, whereas function is what it does. And of course, the marriage of what it is to what it does is pretty fundamental. So we're talking about the fundamental dialectic between structure and function. Very, very important concept, and it's strange how long it took to emerge.
Emerge where? So you mean in social discourse, in scientific exploration? What do you mean by that?
Well, in scientific exploration, I mean. In the first paragraph of the Wikipedia commentary, they say that it was originally conceived, the term, as an attempt to characterize the nature of living systems. Now, good thing to do, to characterize the nature of living systems, or to introduce a new parameter or a dimension to that. And it's quite fascinating that it was only in the 70s, in 73, that these two Chilean biologists, not systems theorists, not linguists, conceived this concept of something that looks after itself, creates itself, forms itself, emerges as itself. And they draw the distinction with a car factory, which they call an allopoietic system, which uses materials from outside to generate an organized structure which is other than the factory. The car is not the factory. So an allopoietic system can do materials in a factory and produce things. But an autopoietic system is something that responds to the material space around it and creates itself, like a self.
It's a self-learning system? Or a learning?
Well, learning in a very, very deep and wide sense. It's a self-patterning. It's a self-supporting, sustaining, informing, feedbacking and feed-forwarding system. It's a living thing, my friends. It didn't get designed. It just starts happening.
These Chilean biologists are the ones who articulated it. You came at this through Stafford Beer? Is that right?
Well, I first came across the term through reading the Massey Lectures of 1973 by Stafford Beer, Designing Freedom. You can follow anything about Stafford Beer by Googling, with quotes, 10 pints of beer. If you Google 10 pints of beer, you will get the seminal information for following the career of who was definitely the most significant management cybernetic thinker and actor of the last century. Stafford Beer was an utterly brilliant man, and his work is profoundly affected the way many systems theorists look at at many things. And I know that Maturana and Varela were in conversation with Stafford Beer during the Allende period of Chile in the early 70s, prior to the coup. And that many of the ideas that have permeated between management systems theory and biology come from that meeting and from their work together. And that's where I first heard about autopoiesis, is through the work of Stafford Beer.
It's a CBC program called Ideas. So
well, the Massey lectures are an annual invitational lecture given by eminent people, and in '73 that was given by Stafford Beer. If you Google that lot, you'll find all about it too.
And this was this must have been just before the coup, and that by the way is the first 9/11.
Yeah, 9/11/73 when the coup. Yeah. In Chile, one of the most brutal and
fomented and funded and supported by the American government,
CIA, and various corporate interests, particularly the copper companies and the AT&T, well documented interventionists. Shock.
And if anybody wants to know more about that particular subject and what it has to do with our world today, Naomi Klein has written a brilliant book called The Shock Doctrine, Disaster Capitalism. And it's very, very well worth the read. If you want to understand what's really going on in the world today and what has gone on for the last 50 years in the world, especially North America, Naomi Klein, Shock Doctrine, is a brilliant book. That was a commercial.
Yes.
She's not paying a damn thing. This was not arranged beforehand, honest. I've never talked to her. I'd like to talk to her. I digress. I'm sorry. We were talking about Stafford Beer and form and function. Autopoiesis.
Yeah, and not a digression at all, not at all. Anyway, we are talking about the concept of things emerging and taking on their own life and some form of intelligence. Now, I don't mean by that this thing will be able to sit an IQ test or parse differential equations or something like that. That's not what we mean by an intelligence of a living network. And what's happening progressively through the internet is that the connectivity of many persons and processes is beginning to resemble something somewhat similar to the patterns of neurons and connections in the human brain. You know, what we take as consciousness at a personal level, the neurons see as something totally different. They're just little things bouncing around. But because of the form of the connectivity between the elements of the brain, we have a thing we call consciousness, which we tend to become personally identified with. Now, I think global consciousness will be many such patterns of apparently unorganized or unstructured relationships. If you take a few thousand people in the world and get them organized, what we usually mean by that is set up chains of direction, command, control, information, whatever. The organization has a hierarchical concept to it. But that's structure only. You can have organization at a biological style, like jellyfish, for instance. They're a fascinating example of organization of material and process. And the cells of the jellyfish don't know about the jellyfish. The bees don't know about the beehive. And we as individuals are not really going to know what collective intelligence is, what the gathering of a group of entities into mutual performance, mutual interaction. This has never really happened before, or at least it's only happened in small, close tribal contexts, and then degenerately in the large-scale sort of warfares of the last 2,000-3,000 years. Big things are better. I can beat the shit out of you, so it's mine. That level of organizational interaction between entities is what our societies, our politics, our armaments, our technologies, and our money system have completely defined. Well, roll over Beethoven. There's a lot happening. And this week in particular, the preliminary announcement of the Google API change, the open social concept, which will be specifically announced in just a few days and will enable a degree of cross-referencing and connecting that has never previously been available in anybody's imagination for how the world would work. Perhaps some of the more recent science fiction writers, the William Gibsons, you name your own 25. I mean, there's plenty of current science fiction writers who've been inferring what the form of connectivity will be. And I think they've caught some degrees of the texture, but I don't think they've caught the pattern. I don't think anybody's realized, apart from a very small, select bunch of amazed people like you, me, and 3 or 4 others, comprehended what money has to do with the creation of these networks and just how rich and extensive these network patterns can be, and indeed will be. I have no doubt about it. This is not a stoppable phenomenon.
Yes,
unless you stop internet.
Let them be.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
My favorite guys of all time said that. Let them be.
Well, yes.
Let it, or let it
John.
Be. John. It wasn't let him. Let it be. Well, anyway, let it be. Let it be, and it will be. I mean, it's going to be. It's inevitable that it's going to be. And there's no central committee that can herd this bag of cats. Well, I don't think so. I think there'll be plenty of. There will be some elements that will be herdable. It will be organizable, will be structured, and will have patterns set into them that way. But the exclusivity of. In other words, that you can limit what goes on around your own particular territory cell. I mean, and you got territory will be. The real estate doesn't work the same way on cyberspace as it does in the real world, the meat world. In the meat world, we've got control of space means ownership, means power and control in so many areas, and that's analogous to open money and conventional money. Well, the workaround that the internet provides, and the workaround that the open money concept and ontology provides, says if you don't like the game, there are others, and you're not just restricted to one game. There are many games, and this open money model empowers a variety of different ways of living and being in the world with other people who seem to want to live and be in the world in very much the same way. Same in the sense of, I'll look after
my business, you look after your business, and we won't trash the place. How's it going? I mean, that's the degree of contractual agreement that essentially lies at the heart of a closed-loop community currency. It's very open, very available, doesn't tell anybody what to do, and it lets it pattern itself. I'm going to suggest something here. I just came across a blog the other day.
Okay, but before you do, hold on. Just before you do, your voice has risen in volume in the last 30 seconds or so, so you may need to adjust. And while you're adjusting, I'll just tell people that this is Open Money on Blog Talk Radio. I'm Ernie Jacob, and he's Michael Linton adjusting his microphone right now. We're talking about Autopoiesis and open money, community currencies, LET systems, mutual credit systems, living organisms, and back to you, Michael. You were talking about a blog.
Yeah, I was talking about the nature in which if you design something and leave space, then the users will form the best uses of it, or a rich variety of uses. There's a standard story about you build the university and you put in the concrete paths and the grass areas and this and that and the other, and then of course the students never bother with the concrete paths because it's cut the corners, here we go. So there's patterns that are formed. And a recent blog I saw talked about spotted a desire line. I spotted a desire line. If you Google that, you'll probably come up with it. And it's a set of images of overhead shots of city spaces where green space is crisscrossed by patterns that clearly follow the walking patterns that people have adopted rather than the civic planners or the landscape architects. We go where we want. The paths will be cut where people move. I spotted a desire line. I spotted a desire line. Okay.
Yeah,
if you Google that.
Now I've got it. It's Darren Barefoot.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All right.
And it's a good indication of precisely that stuff. The thing to do is make the space and get out the way and make it possible for others to use the space the way they want. I mean, suppose you designed the deck of cards and decided that it should only play Snap or some particular game.
Or Rain.
Yeah, and how would you stop people from creating poker and gin rummy and bridge and canasta and 1,000 other games? But that's the way that the mentation generally goes is we can teach this thing, we can control it, we know better, we'll tell you how it should be done. It's got to be done this way because that's the way it'll work.
So the Central Committee.
Yeah, the churches, the righteously right, the politically politic. Oh my God. Anyway, people have their theories, and people's theories are the things that keep them happy when they're theorizing. They have nothing to do with reality, and I'm sure that...
Well, they do. They do in the meat and con money world. They do have a lot of reality because central committees, hierarchies, power structures exist. And if you want to make your way in this world, if you want to make your way in this world, you either suck up or you become a sociopath.
Yeah, pretty much. The Petri dish has yielded its own culture. Like the conditions within the competitive power-based society. And if you go back to warfare models, the feudalist, I'm bigger than you, so I get most of it, and you do what I say level of social organization, and progressively moving through to a degree of emancipation and a degree of individuation, but then that'll co-opt it inside the corporate financial machine. We must all serve the man. What is the man? The man has money. Let's go. Well, you can't afford to hang around because if you're late, you lose. So everybody's running furiously in all directions and trashing the planet when nobody actually wants to. And each other. When and it's conceived of, it's human nature. People like to go around killing each other and trashing the planet.
The rationalizations are abundant, and
the ignorance,
like war on terror. War on terror.
But there you're looking at forms of sort of fundamentalist line drawing. This is me, that is you. You're wrong, I'm right. I believe you, therefore I are wrong, therefore I can do anything I like to you. That's the degenerate social consciousness that essentially our society's struggled with since any form of society has existed.
Right. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, the earth suffers.
Yeah, I mean, who's on first, eh? Me. Screw you, after all.
Not me.
Yeah. So here we are now with something different. We have a monetary model where you don't get away with the screw you. You might one kick at the can, but after that, you find that your behavior is known, and nobody needs it. If you're a spoiled child, a bully, or an idiot, okay.
An apparatchik.
If you're one of the old guard in terms of a determination to hang on and hold on, then
hold on to your territory. Somebody's coming to get it. Well, there ain't going to be no territory in the open money world. I mean.
Well, in the same way, not in the same form, so much of a change. I mean, there will be forms of property in virtual worlds and in community currencies, and reputation is going to become a property, not a territory, but a property. Other things will be properties in the sense of, or territories rather, in the sense of space. One of them is attention, is that ultimately everybody who's awake and aware on the planet, there aren't really that many down to it. But let's suppose we do take 6 billion and say that 6 billion people are awake for, say, 12 to 16 hours a day. Whose eyeballs are looking at what? And each of us only has that time, and how is it sliced? And the attention territory is becoming very, very important in, for instance, the propagation of ideas by commercial drive. Google and the boys are all really looking for eyeballs on screens. Eyeballs on screens means money. Data through network information and mining means multi-money. So they all want you going through their hoops, spending time on their entertainment spaces or feed down, feedback spaces, and it translates into dollars. Stock market stuff and IPOs, and we're all going to get rich packages. So the attention economy is still going to be a big one. Perhaps at this point, the amount of time that people spend on internet is, throughout their general population, a fraction of what they spend in other parts of their working space, recreational, social space, entertainment. People watch TV, people read books, people go for walks, people play with their kids, people do all sorts of things. They don't necessarily spend 24/7 in front of screens. But internet's getting further all the time, and therefore the market for people's attention is getting stronger, faster, deeper. And one of the interesting things coming out of the recent Google Pack, the open social, is the concept that there are other ways of being even more openly social. That is, all the systems supporting this expanding network of social networking could be available in open source and be running on an open protocol. that, well, since maybe went one stage past the Google initiative in one way. We shall see.
What's that got to do with the price of bread?
Yeah. Well, the price of bread has got to do with the price of land, labor, energy. That's going to get interesting. The price of bread is going to go up, my friends.
Well, it is going up. It's not a matter of. It's not. I mean, the cost of oil, gas,
it's not started.
Food.
It's not started yet, though. It's going up, but it's not started.
It's going up. No question that it's going up. The costs are going up. Everything.
It's a bit like this global warming, you know. Yes, it's getting warm. But it's hardly started.
Another degree today, another dollar today.
Yeah. So the interesting times are coming. We're going to have an awful lot to achieve in a short time, very soon. If we don't get our act together, it's going to be very sad. Now, getting our act together is rather like a bunch of people in one rowboat, and some of them got paddles, and some of them have got outboard motors, and some of them have got sticks, and some of them have got I don't know what. And if they're all in the same boat and they want the boat to go somewhere, they'd better get into some form of coordination, because if they're all just fighting for space, territory, and dominance, the boat ain't going nowhere. And or at least it's going to go down before it goes anywhere else. We need our boats to float, and we need the boats to float and steer. We need the cybernetics.
Michael, look at this. There's something on the chat here.
Is there
somebody
indeed?
Saying hello to Mr. Linton. We meet again.
We do indeed, whoever we are. Anyway, the cybernauts were the steersmen in the origins of the word. It was who controlled the ship, who was steering, was the cybernaut. And steering is more the issue after you have an instrument of power. If you have a vehicle that will move, like we have wheels, we have a motor, we have transmission, look, it goes. Next question is, where does it go? These are the issues where the autopoiesis is the key point. We know community currencies will work progressively and pervasively and virally, and people are going to pick it up, and that's it. Next question is, how intelligent will be the picking up? How quickly will this begin to address the real issues, the bread on the table issues, the shelter, energy supplies, protection of clean water systems, effective transportation, social equity, disarmament, resolution of the nuclear threats, all these issues. How are they going to be related to the emergence of the collective intelligence of community currency users? Well, hopefully with a certain degree of attention, a high degree of attention, but not too much intervention, just a lot of awareness and learning. Proposition by all means. No limit to hypothesis. No limit to what people can propose and put out to see if it flies, see how it goes. But the idea that there is going to be one way to achieve these is presumptuous. It's central. It's I'd say it's delusional, recursively self-destructive. It is definitely in the allopoiesis model. We can feed it in and tell you where it's going to go, rather than the autopoiesis model. That the organism relates to its environment and draws into it and excretes to it as is appropriate to its own mechanism, its own self-maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be a learning organization. It's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. I'm just having an exchange on the chat with Tu, who says he can't hear the show. He can't hear us. So, do you have your other machine on by any chance?
He can't hear us.
No, he says he can hear the jingle. He says he can hear the jingle for the show.
Yeah, well, he's probably got to find another small page with another click here to say go type bar. A little player window should be there somewhere. Mm-hmm. You get logged in, but then you got to hit the go button. And I'm not even sure whether you get to be in listening to the current thing unless you...
Yeah, well, maybe I'll get him to call us.
He says he's logging out and he'll log back in.
Yeah.
Perhaps when he logs back in, when you next see him on there, ask him his name so that I know who he is. If we need to
he gave us his name, Thu, 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 from the UK.
Thu?
Yeah, Thu.
I don't know who that is.
Anyway, back to the show. I mean, there's 30 minutes left of open money on Blog Talk Radio, and we seem to be having some technical difficulties. We'll know later how it did turn out. But in any case, there's a call-in number if anybody wants to call. It's 646-716-9424. And there's the chat room here on Blog Talk Radio. So,
and this is a good reason to have voice over IP, because if you have cheap voice over IP systems like Skype, for instance, but it's not the only one at all, then you can just call us from anywhere on the planet to that number. And yippee, we're in conversation. This is rather elegant, and anybody in North America, or rather anybody in the United States, can use that number for a free call as well. So it's an opportunity for conversation, and conversation on the record.
Yes, because this is a podcast as well. It's live right now, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And we're on the northwest coast of Turtle Island.
And I think our guest has returned. It shows a guest in the chat, and so maybe he'll show up on the...
Interesting. I don't see that yet. I have guest left the room, but not guest back.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing on a side panel. The side panel that has the lists of who's where. I'm reloading it just to check whether it's real.
Right.
And here we are, wasting airtime. You see, this would be such a
serious airtime, right? With all those, with those thousands of people listening.
So I was musing on autopoiesis and self-learning and getting out of the way of the process and letting it happen right. And,
there are going to be some very weird and wonderful incarnations of these ideas. I mean, all hell.
Yes. Well, all heaven, perhaps.
All heaven. Yes, that's better.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Because people are, most people are quite intelligent about their own lives and their families, and they'll figure out the good stuff, and they'll gravitate to what's good. The good money, the ones that work, the ones that move, that circulate within their communities. When they spend it,
well, the ones that provide the value. Yeah, that's the key line on this, really, all the way through. It's that at the core of this is the money that's like the other money, except that when you spend this money, it comes back. It goes around. You don't know much about where. You're pushing the money out into the spinning smoke that's around you on all sides. That's a horrible image, but I'll give you the idea of it. So you don't know where your money's going to amongst the thousands or hundreds or millions of other users of that currency, but somehow or other it percolates through in some way to the people who are your customers, the people who pay you for your time and energy as a retailer or as an individual service or just life in general. Money tends to come back through these currencies.
Yeah, community
now,
currencies.
That's a meme element. That's the least specific and necessary definition. Community currencies are money systems where the money goes around and comes back, goes around and comes back. It's
and there will be many different sizes and versions of
shapes
that.
And forms and parameters and processes.
And within those circles, which is
circuits rather than circles.
Circuits, that's right. I'm sorry. That's what I was going through. I was referring to Keith Hart and his circuits. Some money will move fast and furiously, and others will move slowly and carefully.
Yeah, and some of it will be on the table, and some of it will be under the table, and yeah, all sorts of things. You can't predict a thing, so don't, or at least don't get in the way of the possibilities.
Yes, getting in the way of the possibilities. And autopoiesis, which is what we touched on with with Naomi Klein's analysis in Shock Doctrine, how it has gone, how it has devolved into a rapidly moving train heading for the cliff, with us in the caboose screaming, "Hey, stop the train! Stop the train!"
Yeah, change the train. Let's pull back on the magic lever and lift off.
Aha!
You know, in a curious way, it's now one of the things I've often wondered about is how some of the early settlers that crossed the Atlantic and laid waste to the United States of North America and all that over n decades, but they were pioneer people. Now, if you somehow or other brought a few hundred of them into the middle of the Comox Valley here, I think they'd think we had it fairly easy, with the tooling and the equipment and the possibilities. They wouldn't see this as a problem situation, even as global warming came in and took over, in various ways, and the energy crisis hits and climate change really kicks into the growing seasons and whatever. They'd find this a lot easier than the first settlers found this place those 300 years ago or whatever. They could now, if we look at the community of CC users as though we were people coming from outer space to this planet. We're connecting to this society, but we're different from it. We're different. There's a distinctive process which says, okay, there's only 700 people in your regional area who are using community currency, but if you imagine that these were a self-defined community that had just emerged with all this technology and a different concept. And this is such an incoherent explanation. I can't even understand.
No. I got it. I've got it. I can just see a group of 700 people moving into the valley. This is, there's 60, 70,000 people in this valley. Group of 700 people with an idea that they're going to start community currencies, and they simply start their own, and they move this money, and people see how wonderful it is. Sure, I get that. Happen everywhere. I mean, in a way that happened with the first lead system. You had 1982, 83. You got up to 600 accounts. Some of which were very active accounts in a community currency that circulated. The the green dollar, LET systems. Right? It's circulated with that community.
And indeed, in every instance of every such currency, by whatever means they're made, I mean a real currency. I'm going to drop out on the Salt Spring Dollars, Berkshire's, Regio group on that. They are not real currencies. They're just changing the color of the paper. And they're fundamentally useless. But wherever anything like an Ithaca Hour or a babysitting network or a time bank or a LET system or a truck in Latin America, wherever one of those things has happened, even briefly, even with up and down circumstances, it's been more activity than was possible without it. So it was at least momentary and in some cases more extended experience of some people sort of dropping in from somewhere else and having a party for a while. They had a party. Now, what we want to see is the capacity for that party to be persistent and solid and accumulative, that people feel inclined to have fun. Now it's a time for all good men and women to come to the party, not to its aid. Just come. Not to aid the party. Just come and join
play.
The party.
Come play. Speaking of which, that leads us to our favorite topic.
Let's play.
Let's play the game.
Yep. Which you can get to from almost everything. Probably the best place is openmoney.org/let's play. And that will teach you where to go, what to link up to, how to log in. Register first. Take a name. Take a password. Nothing serious. Nothing. There's no security issues on this. We don't take emails, so you're totally anonymous. You log in. You join a game. There are several to choose from. Doesn't matter, but there's one recommended now. It's October 15.
Well, and there's demo. I mean, the real simple one that anybody can do right now.
Dem 1.
Demo. Oh, Dem 1. Is it Demo 1?
It's Dem 1 at the moment. Yeah. Demo has played its game. Demo has played.
Demo is played. Dem 1 is the game.
Dem 1 is the one now. So you go to partysmart.org/CPAD, and you'll find that link on openmoney.org. Let's play anyway. And in fact, if you Google Let's Play and money, you'll find us. So don't struggle too hard. Just go, register, read the instructions, read the manual. Read the funning manual, please. There are simple rules or recommendations to get value out of it. Recommendation is you try, you pay a bit of attention, and you don't hurry. And you do it a few times. That's all. Do that, and you'll be a much smarter monkey around community. And we will find it easier to talk with you because you'll probably know something more than you did before you played the game.
Yeah.
Games.
And but just to try it out, they can just do Dem 1, right?
Yeah, that's right. Then they can see what's involved. So partysmart.org/CBAP. Count Dem 1 with a numeral. 1. Password Dem 1 with a numeral.
Yes. Okay.
Is that difficult? Yeah, I wonder.
Okay, so there it is. It's up on the chat. So if anybody wants to have a look at the Let's Play game online, can go check it out with Dem 1 and continue by registering, say, 3 accounts and start playing.
And following the instructions.
Yeah.
Recommendations.
RTFM.
So that's good. Games to play.
Like Blog Talk Radio, which is what this is. We've got 15 minutes left. We seem to be winding down at the moment, but I betcha we can find something else to wrap it on about. Well, we could talk about the demise of IJCCR And
it's not demising. It's not demising.
I'm sorry. No. The discussion.
No, it's reborn. IJCCR it's reborn in a new and exciting form. It'll actually be more useful than it is at the moment. It's a total waste of time at the moment. And this is, I think, shedding a load of crap, a load of nonsense, and deriving some potential value from an audience base, some of whom may be paying some attention to the development of community currencies and research therein. So I'm really much in favor of it. I'm going to post a note that says I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think I should do that.
Well, in fact, somebody, I think it was John Turmel, suggested a vote. Whether the International Journal of Community Currencies Research could redirect its own e-group.
Yes. Yeah, quite.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
anyway,
John
so
Turmel. There you go.
This is all
such a thing as unintelligence.
Yeah, this is all inside talk. But what does does connect with what we're talking about today, which is autopoiesis and living systems, is the idea that that has been discussed in IJCCR circles for some time about, well, again, it's central committees deciding on how these currencies are going to interact with one another.
Yeah, it's a professional provider syndrome. We know what's good for you, and we're going to put it there, and you're going to like it, and you're going to pay us for it. Somehow, it's going to cost you, and we'll be okay. I mean, that's all reasonable, rational, because after all, we are good, right, and true, so that's the way it should be, shouldn't it? Mm-hmm. Very, very self-unaware package. There isn't a high degree of reflexive consciousness involved in many of the participants in these networks. It is a problem with email lists and, in fact, computer communication, that it's a bit like that old Snow White thing, mirror, mirror on the wall, tell me who is the fairest one of all. And we all have our magic mirrors. Every computer geek, everybody who spends hours rattling his fingers across the keys, has an eminent appreciation of his own intelligence, perception, and goodwill, and all that. But everybody else is a pain in the ass, and obviously a neurotic son of a bitch, never mind stupid, ignorant, and etc.
And they're not listening. They're not.
And they're not listening to me. So there's this petulant, trivial, puerile, childish outburst of screaming anxieties that's well, it's sad, it's pitiful, it's humbling in some ways to look not just at other people's misbehavior, my own too. Occasionally I've said a few things I'd rather I hadn't. But
yes, I know the feeling. I just did that recently myself.
Yes, a slip of the key.
Under the influence of some vino.
Homemade life.
Homemade, oh my, how embarrassing. Anyway.
Yeah,
yes, so this is,
but it's not a question so much of embarrassment as just noise and stupidity. If you considered that the behavior that people judge to be appropriate inside an email group like JCCR, if you brought them all inside a room,
they'd be much more polite.
No, well, and tried the same behavior. You'd have John Turmel on a megaphone shouting every while for a length of time. Then you have somebody else. Then there'd be no listening.
Yeah.
There'd be people throwing things at each other. It's crazy. But yet, because we have this separation of the screen and the keyboard, people behave utterly irresponsibly, utterly ignorantly, utterly unethically. C'est la vie. Personally, I like the voice thing, and I hope that we're going to get closer to the situation that if you want to know what we're about, call me. Ask a question. And sometimes it'll be a one-on-one situation.
And lots of people. Lots of people do. It's on some of these e-groups that you get this kind of. I'm on a lot of other e-groups where it's very respectful. and people appreciate.
Some are better than
other.
others. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Some are better than others,
Question.
and some are well
There's something.
processed and moderated. But when you get a loony space and a lack of moderation and
Lack of
people
moderation,
felt,
I think, is an issue for sure.
well, in
Right.
JCCR, it absolutely was. Professor Colin Williams did absolutely nothing of a positive nature in the management and preparation of this list beyond having it be there. And maybe that was a good thing, but I think unequivocally.
Well, it certainly surfaces.
Absolutely nothing.
Certainly surfaces. I mean, in a way, I mean, by the end of this process, there will be probably 3 different e-groups, right? One will be IJCCR, well, no, 4 actually. Termel has his own already. And,
I think actually one of the things that Todd Boyle said recently, in a peculiar outburst, not peculiar to him, he does that sort of thing quite regularly, but one of the things he said was that blogging is more likely to become the network of information than this rabid, no you didn't, yes I did stuff. I think he's right. I don't think the lists are going to be relevant. They haven't seemed to me to be particularly relevant to any discussion that I've been having that's been useful for some years. I mean, occasionally things show up, but they will show up by other routes. And I notice things show up faster in blog space than they do on lists, at least the lists I'm doing.
Yeah, you see, and the list, many of the lists that I'm on, though, are much more. You see, they're grounded in the real here and now. It's like what's happening in the peace and social justice world and the growing food world and those kinds of places where people are collaborating, offering each other information, things that they've picked up. There's a sharing going on.
I think,
right?
Yeah, and presumably less anxiety about attention, reputation, and shit like that.
Exactly.
I mean,
they are purposeful.
Egos.
They're purposeful, and there are egos for sure. But it's purposeful discussion by people who are trying to do some real stuff in the real world. So there's a grounding to it. So there's much more. It's much more respectful here. I think and the more you get into the academic realm, the more of this kind of thing, and the more egotistical discourse goes on. People defending their territories.
Yeah, and attacking others on the grounds that they feel a scarcity and a need. So it's bad. Anyway. Enough of it.
And this is what I had hoped. This is what I had hoped. That's what I wanted from IJCCR. I wanted to talk to the practitioners, the people who are doing something about community currencies, not people who are talking about why you can't do them or why you have to fight. Why you have to fight the central banks and change them. No, I want to talk to people who are doing the community currency thing.
Quite right. This is what we want.
So, that's what we... Okay. So, where does that leave us? That leaves us with 6 minutes remaining on this show. What are we going to talk about on Monday?
I don't know yet. I don't care.
Oh.
We've got... others will be with us.
Yeah.
We'll have Eric Strong here,
town.
so quite probably we'll do something with him.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
He's here till Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back on Thursday, right? Yeah.
So we will be
good. Well, that would be...
there'll
be going to be some very, very interesting times this next week. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be tremendous. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel a change coming. A sea change.
A sea change.
A sea change. A CC change.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like moving from fresh water to salt water or something. The change is substantial, but parts of it you hardly see. But boy, is it changing. Yeah. Well, I'm feeling adequately changed for the day. I think I'm happy to pass the airwaves over to the rest of the world. It's good to see.
Well, there is no rest of the world. There's
well,
and Whiskey Barrel has left the room.
Yes.
So,
well, we have had people come and go. I hope they get more in touch with us and let us know who they are in some way, and we'll continue conversations.
Okay, so we can just shut her down now. I mean, we don't have to use the whole hour. I mean,
I'm happy to shut it down now because I've got things I could happily do, and I think we've given everybody quite enough. Then we read through that. Yeah, it's plenty there. So,
okay,
I'm off. Catch you later. Next Monday.
Right.
Bye now.
Okay, so this is Open Money on Blog Talk Radio. I'm Ernie Jacob. That was Michael Linton. We are now live at 10:55 a.m. on the northwest coast of Turtle Island in Canada. And we're doing this show. We're trying to do the show 3 times a week. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. We have been on for some time now, so we've got quite a few podcasts up on Blog Talk Radio. And we're up for talking with anybody about community currencies, open money, LET systems, mutual credit, and how we're going to use community currencies to deal with some of the horrible things that are coming at us from every direction. And we have talked about some of these things in the past, like homelessness and poverty and war, peace, and all those things, and what money and community money have to do with all of those things. So, and perhaps one day we'll transcribe some of that, or somebody will transcribe it, and that's one of the things we were going to talk about at some point, and or talk some more about, because we did talk about monetizing ourselves, which also means monetizing open money on Blog Talk Radio, because there are things that people can do to help, like transcribe, because we don't have the time to do that, or the facility and the skill and the expertise and the equipment, etc. So anyway, I'm rabbiting on. Looks like I have 2 minutes remaining. So should I fill that last 2 minutes with something useful? I mean, you can email us. It's all in the chat. I'm Ernie at openmoney.org. Michael is MWL at openmoney.org. The website that will lead you to the world of LET systems, community currencies, and open money is lets.net, LETS.net. So, and that's, and then there's openmoney.org, there's openmoney.info, openmoney.editme.com. Anyway, and you can get through all of those from lets.net. So that's it for me until Monday. Thanks for listening if you did, and get in touch with us by email and let us know what you heard, if you heard, how you heard, and if anything touched your interest. That's it. Bye. See you on Monday, perhaps.